Hey everybody, I am missing, oh there it is. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so now you won't hear it if the dogs start to bark. Gonna double check, make sure live is actually working. And the sound is good. All right. So this is the 30-day practice challenge. Welcome. And we've been talking about ooh, that's weird. Hear yourself on echo. So this 30-day practice challenge, I'm talking about getting together your time, your space, and do one thing every day that you market yourself, and then one thing every day where you actually make money. And so, when we talk about the money making part, we talk about, okay, you've got to make that phone call, or you've got to return a phone call, or you've got to go out there and visit a business, shake somebody's hand. Hey, Laura, thanks for joining. So today I'm going to get really specific about the money part of it, because one of the things I talk about in my book, My Next Steps, Create a Counseling Career You'll Love, which, yes, shameless plug right there. I talk about building a financial bridge. Those of you who want to go into private practice, you need money. Now, you don't necessarily need a business loan, but you need money. And so where that money comes from, hey, Wayne, thanks for joining. It can come from your supportive partner. It can come from a second job. It can come from, just however that don't do anything illegal, right? But you got to have some kind of a financial bridge. And what happens if you don't is that your clients become dollar signs. And that's not good. So, we avoid these dual relationships where a client, is your client, or your client is your source of income. Well, that's a dual relationship. Now, it's one that we have to mitigate. It's one that we have to somehow manage. But the reason your physician doesn't have that challenge is because your physician is on a salary. And if your physician sees, 10 clients today or 20 clients today, they make the same amount of money. Now, at the end of the year, there may be some kind of a profit sharing thing, or the company they work for may have some bonuses. But long and short of it is, as counselors, as small business owners, if we don't have some security with paying our bills, we're going to freak out during those times of years where our clients aren't coming in, or we have days when our schedules just fall apart. And, I don't know if I'll get to it in this Facebook Live, but I've talked before about making sure that you have credit card information, or a way to make sure that you're paid whether they show up, and you have a rock solid no-show plan for your established clients. And again, I can get into that, but today is really more about what to do with the money that you have. Hey, Kata, thank you for joining. Good to see you. So there are 3 things for my goals for this Facebook Live today. Number 1 is paying yourself. Number 2 is paying the folks who work for you. And then number 3, paying your taxes. And I'm not really going to get into the W-2 1099 debate. Just know that, I will be talking about that a little bit. So let's talk about number 1, paying yourself first. So if you're a solo practitioner, or even if you're a practitioner with a big business, you're either in a partnership, in a supportive relationship, and then someday that supportive partner and you are going to pool your money together and everybody's going to retire happily and comfortably, or you're working this out on your own, or maybe you're a primary breadwinner. And so one of the things that I always talk to my new counselors about is this idea of setting up some kind of a retirement account. So you having your own business means, nobody's pulling money out and giving it to Social Security, right? Nobody is taking this money from you and paying your taxes for you. Hey, Terry, good to see you. So something that small business owners do, and just an example, I'm not a financial planner. Something you can do is it's just as simple as something called a SEP IRA. That's capital S, capital E, capital P as in Paul, IRA. And so it doesn't, it depends on how much you can contribute to that. So if you have a CPA, and this is the time of year that you should be starting to think about that, you can start adding money to your SEP IRA depending on how much you profit each year. So when you do your taxes, a good CPA will be able to tell you, hey, Kate, this is how much you can put in your SEP IRA this year. It reduces your tax burden, and that money goes away, and there are penalties if you touch it, so you can't go in later and pull it out if you want to buy a new couch or a new computer. That money is yours for your retirement planning. If you have that second job we talked about earlier, and let's say you're in a university setting, yes, there are things there that they can definitely help you pull aside money, and that's your retirement. And then you can take all the money that you make from your practice and use it for your daily expenses. But remember, saving is paying yourself first, okay? If you're not saving, you're not paying yourself first. And that is a problem, because one of the things I talk about in the, sorry guys, I'm going to get talk to the women just a second. You know, one of the things we know statistically is this growing demographic of women over 50 living in poverty. And so this is a huge problem. You don't want to give your whole life to this profession and become this amazing asset to your community, only to have at the end of your working life, not your life, your working life, the inability to really care for yourself, pay for insurance, take a sick day when you get sick. I think that's so important when we start defining what does success look like. Hopefully it means being able to take a day off if you have the flu, or God forbid you get in a car wreck and you need to take some time to rehab. So paying yourself first, let's say the SEP IRA is not your thing, well, simply take 10% off of your profit and live on that. I'm sorry, don't live on that. Put that in savings. Live on the 90%. So if you get in the habit of putting 10% off of every dollar you make into just a, low interest passbook savings account, that is a good habit to get into. The graphic I used today in the group were jars. I don't know if you saw that in the Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses page. So there were 3 jars. And one of the ways I was taught to handle my money was to think of the first jar as sort of the mortgage, the rent, the bills, the second jar as my insurance, my savings, my retirement. And then that third jar was when I just had more money than I knew what to do with, and I could start buying real estate and living off my mailbox money. So I think as counselors, that's part of our issue. We want to start filling that third jar. We want to start kind of taking that money and putting it out there and doing different things, whether it's building courses or buying an office building. And we really need to start with that first jar of making sure that our bills are paid, and then the second jar of making sure that we have some security so that we can continue to make money. Stephen Covey, one of his 7 habits of highly effective people, talked about, you don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Well, guess what, guys? You are the goose that lays the golden egg. And so if you wear out and you can no longer make that money, that's a problem. So this helps you make sure that you've got some security and some real confidence in your job, getting up and going to work every day. I'll be real honest with you. This January, I've seen my schedule fall apart twice. That is so weird for January. January is always the new year, new you, and we get a lot of folks going into counseling. But this past week and this week coming up, I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing my schedule. I'm seeing holes in my schedule, and I'm not used to that. So it's a nice feeling to know that I've got money set aside to pay my bills in times like that. All right, second thing, let's talk about paying the folks who work for you. Now, those counselors out there who are supervisors and you want to go hire those interns, if you are going to be an employer, right, in any fashion, you have a choice. you're going to have a W-2 person working for you, or you're going to have a 1099 person working for you. Now, TWC, that's the Texas Workforce Commission, has come out quite strong about this. There are certain criteria that a person must meet, and you can Google, I'm not going to go over here, Google Texas 1099 or federal 1099 laws, and you'll see the bullets that an individual, the criteria they must meet in order to be a 1099 employee. If you are paying someone 1099 who should be classified as a W-2, that's a problem, because TWC or whatever governing body goes after this kind of stuff will come to you and say, hey, guess what? You owe taxes. You owe this person Social Security. You owe for this person taking out all of those things that an employer would take out. Now, I've done both. So I've had an assistant that I paid as a W-2 employee, and it was great because I hired a company and they took a little percentage. It's almost like having a billing company, and they would pay my assistant her paycheck. The paycheck would come from them. It would have my information, but they would make sure all the proper taxes and fees were taken out of her check so that I didn't have to do all that math. Now what I do is I hire folks for specialty jobs. So I might hire someone to go teach one of my courses. I might hire someone to use their expertise in another way. And that means I get to pay them as 1099 employees, or I should say 1099 contractors. So again, if you want to know the difference, who and what constitutes 1099 or W-2, please go Google that. In the meantime, what I'm going to show you, we're coming up on the deadline. January 31st is the deadline for getting these lovely red forms out. So this, I know it looks backwards to you, but this form is the 1099 form, and this is your, I like to call it your first try to get it right. You send the 1099 form completely filled out to the folks who you've hired to do the job. Now, who gets that? Well, anybody that you've paid over $600. If you've paid someone $601, you owe them a 1099 form. Now, if you have some awesome accounting software like QuickBooks, no, I don't get paid by QuickBooks, but I love QuickBooks, especially QuickBooks Online. I push a button, it does all the math for me. And I send it out to the first, let's say I have 3 people that I'm paying this year, are giving 1099s to. January 31st is my deadline for sending them that red form, copy A of the 1099. That's their opportunity to take a look at it, make sure that I did my math correctly. If I did it wrong, they have a chance to get back to me so that I can correct it. Hey, Sola and Hell, thanks for watching. And then I send them copy B. I don't know, I always forget. But anyway, here's your second chance. And that one is the final form. So you have, again, the first deadline is coming up January 31st to give them that first form. They can give you information like, hey, Kate, you did the math wrong. Then I have another chance, and then that's what I turn in to my CPA. And along with, I will file this lovely thing, which is an accounting, basically how many 1099 forms did I send out. So if that sounds complicated, I promise you it's really, really not. You can usually get these forms at your local public library. Unfortunately, this time of year, everybody kind of has that same idea. So they're all going to the library and they're grabbing up the forms. You can go online, but do not download and copy these forms. Don't hit print on these forms, because if they're not official, they will get kicked back, because the official forms have a barcode. And if the barcode doesn't show up for some reason, I don't know, maybe they have some kind of a protecting thing when you print it out, it won't scan. So you may be forced to pay for them, which is what I had to do, and then I end up with like 10 too many. But It's always good to have extras because you make mistakes or the printer clogs or something happens, and it's good to have more. So this is for those of you who are having to pay someone for a 1099 job. Hey, Ashton, thanks for watching. So again, a 1099 contractor is somebody who has an expertise, right? They don't have any sort of a supervision obligation. So if I hire someone to come teach my course and they're already a licensed professional counselor supervisor, I don't need to tell them what to teach, right? I'm hiring them to take their expertise and then deliver it. I don't direct it beyond anything other than, hey, show up here and you're done at this time. Right? So an independent contractor has that independence. A W-2 employee is someone that you have to direct, and they show up for work and you say, hey, here's your list for today. I need you to do this, 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 and this, and I need you to do it this way and this way and this way. So a W-2 employee is not self-directed. And that's about as basic as I can get as far as that W-2 1099 kind of dilemma there. Kate Walker Training has a great course that was constructed by Valerie Kirkendall, and she put it together, and it's about an hour and a half, and I highly recommend it if you want to just take a look at that difference. I think we're all getting more and more educated about this, those of us who are supervisors, but still it doesn't hurt to take a look and get another refresher course. All right, so let's talk about getting your taxes together. One of the things as a new practice owner you have to keep in mind is your profit, which is what your clients give you, and your expenses. Now let's go ahead and start from scratch. To start a business, you can literally, and I can look outside today because today's Thursday, and my little neighbor across the street usually has his lemonade or hot chocolate stand, or sometimes he sells eggs from his chickens. So he is a businessman. He's in business. He doesn't need an LLC. He doesn't need a DBA. He just has to earn his money, make his living, okay? Now, with us, we hear a lot of things tossed around, like what do we need in order to go into business? Well, you know, that's the beauty of living in this country. You're in business. It's when you go to pay your taxes that it's good to have these things in place. So let's talk about a DBA. A DBA stands for doing business as. It simply means that you are going to go, let's say I, Kate Walker, I want to do business as Kate Walker. So I go fill out my DBA. The county clerk stamps it. I pay my $10. I can now take that piece of paper over to my favorite bank, and they will allow me to set up a separate business account, which is wonderful. But I don't really need that. Like I can literally go on Capital One right now and I can open up another bank account and run my business out of that. So really what's important here is that you have a separate bank account for your business, and then you take it one step further and you have a dedicated debit or checkbook for that business. Now, you can take that debit card and anything you put through that debit card, whether it's your light bill for your office, the couch that you're going to buy, that computer, those number 2 pencils, whatever it is that you're going to buy for your business, if you buy it with that debit card, it is now a business expense. Now, folks, that card is not magical. It cannot turn something that's not a business expense into a business expense. So when you go to file your taxes, if you've been diligent, and again, go ahead and Google, and I do this all the time, what is a write-off for 2019? I've looked up my car. I've looked up my office space. I've looked up, oh my gosh, my dog had to go to the vet. So I've looked up all kinds of things. Long and short is, if you are disciplined and only use that debit card for your business, you are going to have such an easier time at the end of the year when it's time to file your taxes. So you have your profit, right? I'm holding my hand up high because this is the amount of money that your clients have paid you. And then you have your expenses. That's everything you put on that debit card that came out of your bank account. Now, if these two are the same, then you have a zero profit. You won't owe any taxes. Okay, if you have a little bit of profit, see this gap right here? Well, Google, how much money do I have to make to pay taxes? I don't even know what it is this year. I think it's like 9,000 or 10,000. There's a certain amount of money that if you make below that, you don't even owe taxes. You'll have to file. I encourage everybody to file, but you may not owe. So there's a certain threshold that when you cross it, your expenses, your profit, right? If it's somewhere in here like $10,000, $11,000, now you're going to have to start paying taxes. How much? Well, that's when you go back to the Google machine and you put in your income. If you file with someone else, put in their income and you see what the taxes are. And it's easy. How much do I owe? What is my tax bracket for 2019? Those are some of the Google search terms you can put in. And then you see, okay, if it's about a 20% tax bracket, guess what? You can project that for the rest of the year. Remember, you're taking 10% out to pay yourself. Well, now if you're in the 20% tax bracket, you're going to take another 20% and you're going to put it in another account that you cannot touch. And that's what you're going to use to pay your taxes. If you get a nice surprise at the end of the year and you find out you don't owe any, well, great. All of that money can go back into your savings. But if you're like, and I know you guys are amazing and you're building these amazing practices, at the end of the year, if you have not taken out 20%, and I'm just going to put 20% into a tax account, you may get a big surprise at the end of the year because you have done such an amazing job and you have served so many people, you're going to owe taxes. And if you don't have that dollar amount handy to write that check on April 15th, well, you can file an extension, right? And they will give you till October 15th. But if you owe money, the government doesn't stop charging you interest on that. So you'll have to pay that amount plus interest when you finally do file in October. All right, so what have we talked about today? Let's back up. It's the January practice challenge, right? You've got 31 days to get your practice going. We always backwards plan, right? We backwards plan our badass business goals, and that's what we're doing today. Talking about this month, time, space, one marketing activity, and one activity that's going to make you money. The activity that's going to make you money that we're talking about today is paying yourself, paying the people who work for you, and paying your taxes. Because if you run out of money, that is a barrier. It's a barrier to your peace of mind. You don't want to start seeing your clients as dollar signs. You want to make sure that you have a nice financial bridge so that you feel comfortable with your job. Because why? Because you're going to make an amazing practice. Your community is going to rely on you, and you are too important to lose to something like going broke, not knowing the rules, or burning out. Because remember, right? Counselors don't quit. Counselors don't quit. Now you'll notice I've got the curtain up behind me because I got to go. I've got a 10 o'clock client and I'm going to do it via telemedicine, and I don't need them to see all the stuff. So I'm going to take the t-shirts down, take my book down. Oh, and I'm also, those of you who are teaching sexual concerns this year, sometimes y'all ask me, I'm using Quickies 3rd edition and systemic sex therapy. So put questions down here in the comments, or you can shoot me an email at support@katewalkertraining.com. You guys are awesome. I'm going to be at the Intern Summit, sponsored by the LPC Intern Association in Summer Allen, Austin, Texas, January 25th, 2020. If you're a supervisor, sign up. We're going to be having a Supervisor Connect. Grow your supervision business. Grow your supervision business. Make a difference. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day, a badass day, and I will see you soon. Hey, Elizabeth, good to see you. Come up and say hi to me. Bye.